What if I told you that at one college, your entire academic future could come down to just one number? Seriously, this number decides if you're on a super demanding track, the one leading to a professional license, or if you're on a more flexible path to getting your degree. Today, we're going to dive deep into this unique two-path system and figure out what it actually means for every single student there. So, for any student at this college, this is the big question, right? Board versus non-board. The answer literally shapes your entire college experience, from the moment you apply all the way to graduation day. So, yeah, let's break down what the real difference is for you. And to get the real scoop, we're not just guessing. We're going straight to the source, the official student manual for the Zamboanga del Sur Provincial College. Let's just call it Zdspgc. It's a bit of a mouthful. Pretty much everything we're about to talk about, it's all laid out in this one document. So you've got to wonder, why even have a system like this in the first place? Well, it's the college's answer to a really big question. How do you keep your academic standards super high for those really tough professions, but at the same time, make sure college is an option for as many people as possible? It's a tricky balance. And wouldn't you know it, we find the why right in the college's mission statement. It's all about a promise to give the people of Zamboanga del Sur a quality and affordable education. See those two words? Quality and affordable. This whole two-track system, well, that's how they try to make good on both parts of that promise. So their solution? They created two completely separate academic paths. You've got your board programs on one side and your non-board programs on the other. And the crazy part? The entire system, every student's journey, it all comes down to one single number. And here it is, the magic number 2.0. Seriously, for students at Zdspgc, almost every major academic hurdle, every decision, every crossroad, it all points back to this one number. So what is 2.0? It's the critical dividing line for a student's general weighted average, or GWA. Think of it like your overall grade point average. Whether you're above this number or below it, that's what decides which path you're on, from day one all the way to the end. All right, so let's walk through this journey. We'll start at the very beginning, just getting into the college. How does that 2.0 GWA play a role in admissions? Well, the rules are totally different depending on which track you're trying to get into. And the difference is, wow, it's huge. If you want to get into a board program, we're talking things like nursing, teaching, engineering, you absolutely must have a GWA of 2.0 or higher. And get this, no single grade can be lower than 2.0 either. It's a pretty high bar to clear. But for the non-board programs, the door's still open, even if your GWA is a bit below that 2.0 mark. Okay, so let's say you made it in. Awesome. But now what? The next challenge is actually staying on your chosen path. The college calls these the retention policies. Basically, they're the rules you have to follow to keep your spot year after year. And that 2.0 line, oh, it's still a huge deal. For students in those board programs, the pressure is always on. They have to keep their GWA at 2.0 or higher. And then there's a new twist. No grade in any subject can drop below a 2.5. Yikes. Meanwhile, if you're in a non-board program, you can keep going even if your GWA takes a dip, just as long as you're meeting the other specific rules for your course. So that leads to a pretty obvious question, right? What happens if a student in one of those tough board programs can't keep up? Do they just get kicked out? Nope. This is where something called the shifting policy kicks in. And it's really important to think of this less like a punishment and more like a safety net. Here's how it works, step by step. First, there's an academic review. If a student's grades don't meet the standard, they don't just get shown the door. Instead, they go to guidance counseling to get support and figure out what's next. From there, they're advised to shift over to a non-board program. And here's the most important part. They get to continue their education. They're just on a different path now. And the policy manual really doubles down on this support system. It says right there in black and white that guidance services are there to help students academically and personally. It's all about finding the right fit for each individual student so they can still succeed. All right, let's jump ahead in time. We've covered getting in and staying in. Now let's talk about the finish line, graduation. And yeah, you guessed it, the path a student was on makes a huge difference in what it takes to actually get that diploma. For anyone in a board program, it's a hard and fast rule. Your final GWA has to be 2.0 or higher, no ifs, ands, or buts. But for students in the non-board programs, they can actually graduate with a GWA below 2.0 as long as they've passed all their required classes.
It's kind of the final example of how different these two paths really are.
Okay, let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. Why does any of this matter? What's the whole point of this dual-track system for the students and for the college itself?
This chart basically tells the whole story in one go. From getting in, to staying in, to getting out, the difference is crystal clear. You've got one path that demands you're always on your A game, and another path that offers a lot more flexibility. At its heart, it's a system built to give more students a real shot at earning a college degree.
And here's something that's super important to remember. Even though the academic rules are different, the support systems are exactly the same for everyone. The college makes it really clear that things like guidance counseling, health services, the library, job placement help, all of that is available to every single student, no matter which path they're on. So, we'll leave you with this question to chew on. This system at ZSPGC is a really intentional way to try and balance high standards with open access. It creates this intense, high-stakes track for some and a supportive safety net for others. But the big question is, does having these different standards actually help the most students succeed in the long run? It's definitely something to think about.